Hey legal legend, welcome to Legal Light Bulbs, where we uncover bright ideas to power small in-house legal teams. I'm Verity White, the lucky lawyer who gets to chat with some of the smartest minds in the in-house legal world to help legal legends like you have a big impact with a small legal team. It can feel very isolating if you are a sole legal officer or one of only a few lawyers in a small in-house team. So I'm really excited for this episode of Legal Light Bulbs to chat with Theo Kapidistrias to explore the art of building networks beyond your workplace and why hobbies and communities and side projects might be the secret sauce for thriving in-house. And perhaps even the best way to build your influence inside the office is to start outside of it. Welcome, Theo. So lovely to have you along.
Thank you, Verity. It's great to be here.
This is such a fun topic, and I think it's really important. It's something that I haven't really, I guess a lot of lawyers don't think about when they're younger. Maybe some people do, but I definitely didn't think about it enough when I was younger. So let's talk about the power of building networks beyond your work. Why do you think it's important for in-house lawyers to have networks outside their company that they work for?
I think it's so important. I mean, not only is it great to connect with other lawyers from other companies because that's your support network right there. So your friends who you can ask a quick question of, maybe they've got a template they could share, sort of bounce an idea. It's always good. But also you can just make wonderful friends, good connections. I don't know, maybe get a freebie here or two. Not that that's implied, but it's a potential benefit. We love that. But it's just really great to be able to connect with people outside of your workplace who bring you joy or could, potentially be a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I found when I was in a large company, I was working, in a large telco, and I felt like I had heaps of contacts. You've got the business contacts, you've got the legal team contacts, and then, but you leave that business and where are all your day-to-day contacts gone? Like, so you can't really take like sometimes you can stay friends outside of work, but yeah, it's hard to take those with you if you haven't built them.
It is really difficult. So being able to find people and groups outside of your workplace is amazing. So whether it's like through a professional association, like I'll give a little flag here for ACC Australia. One of the networks I lead is the Sole Legal Officer Network, where we get a bunch of people who are SLO, sole legal officers, coming in together to just be friends, to talk about, what's the hot goss? How can we help each other? How can we support this little network of people who do it by themselves? And it's so handy. So you go to another event, you find all these other people. It's great. But of course, I'm involved in a whole bundle of things outside of work, which just gives me a wonderful insight into great people that I get to meet, connect with, and just have as a friend, which is just so handy.
I'm glad you mentioned ACC, or Association of Corporate Counsel, because it still amazes me that there's some in-house lawyers that aren't aware of this community. So we'll definitely add the links in the show notes. Because it was one of my favorite communities when I was in-house. And as you know, I still think of myself as an in-house lawyer at heart, even though I have a law firm now. But I get to work with amazing in-house lawyers all the time. And I think the Association of Corporate Counsel, the way that they set up their special interest groups, you've mentioned the sole legal officer one, which is amazing for people who are just kind of the only legal officer in an organisation. But there's a lot of other different ones. I know they've just set up a medical health one that's awesome. There's the Legal Technology Information Committee. What are some of the other special interest groups? There's heaps of them getting around, right?
There was a new to in-house group, a
Yeah,
pro
new to
bono
in-house, great
group.
if you've just started. Yep,
Yeah.
pro bono.
Mhm, mhm. They're probably the big
Yeah.
ones, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ACC, I think they was hopefully this episode will definitely be out before the national conference. I'm sure you'll be getting along to that in
Yeah.
Gold Coast this year.
Of course, I'm very excited. Yeah, 12th to the 14th of November on the Goldie, which will be great. Being able to escape Tassie for a few days in the warmth, which will be
Yeah,
great.
fantastic. And I know not everyone can get around to all of the conferences. This is a great one to get to, especially if you're in-house. But let's talk, you kind of talked about there a lot of different organizations that you're a part of, lots of different hobbies. So let's talk tactical networking because, and I mean, I think we do have to be tactical with this, right? We have to be tactical with our time. We can't fit everything in the day, even though we try. But what kind of steps would you recommend to, a lawyer at a small in-house team or who's, a solo legal officer to start networking or to start building a network and picking which communities to join and which maybe to skip or when to pull out of a community?
Yeah, I think it's important to find groups that align with something that you're interested in. So if it is in-house stuff and, a whole heap of CPDs, then that's a great angle to go down. I know there are, like there's the Governance Institute and the AICD, they both run events and a lot of that is going to be relevant to what we do as in-house counsel. So being able to connect with those groups and see if there's people that are, in a similar space to you or, you know, an area that you're interested in learning about, that's a great space to find new people to connect with and, find those mutual connections. Otherwise, there's a heap of, young professional groups or young networking groups. If you're like a young person or if you're young at
Or
heart,
young at heart, yep.
whatever you
They're
can
pretty
fit
broad
into.
with their membership
Yeah,
these days sometimes, but yes, if you are young or young at
they
heart.
are. Yeah, so that's a really good one for people that are sort of early in their years. But there's so many like industry specific
Mm.
groups as well. So, if you're in media or if you're in consumer goods or you're in retail, there's probably a whole range of industry networks that you can connect with. But of course, if you want to do some networking from the couch, we've got LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We love a little bit of LinkedIn. Yeah. Being able to find people that you find interesting or you've seen speak before or they've popped up in your feed and they're doing some really cool stuff. Doesn't hurt to connect, send a little message, organize a coffee catch up or a Zoom catch up, whatever it might be. It's, it's amazing for, I guess, building those connections when you might not get the access to them face to face.
That's a great point. And if you haven't already connected with Theo on LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you do connect with Theo and me, of course, as well on LinkedIn.
Obviously.
Happy to connect and have a bit of a couch networking session. But in terms of research as well, right, you might want to have a look at the association or the organization's LinkedIn page and see how active it is. Because if you are wanting active groups, then that definitely having a look to see who is getting active on LinkedIn is a great way to pick and choose. In terms of different organizations, and I know a lot of companies they have kind of internal, there's been a lot of mentoring things for women, a lot of bits and pieces within an organization. I personally, I mean, those are great, especially if you're like trying to climb a corporate ladder. But I think that you need to look outside for a lot of these organizations. I love that you mentioned industry associations as well, because often that is such a great chance to not only hone your legal skills and kind of networking skills, but to, learn new things that can help you see around corners for your clients.
Absolutely. So I think that's one of the things I love about, all the other networks that I'm part of. It's the fact that you can connect with a bunch of people who have a different view to what you would or a lawyer necessarily would. And then you hear a different perspective and you get to learn about some very specific things that you might not ordinarily pick up on because it's not in your lens. But these people love it. They're day to day. So then that's an opportunity for you to pick up and learn about new stuff. Because I'm now involved with like the Governance Institute of Australia as well and being able to connect in with people who are like just governance and COSEC focused is awesome because they're identifying things that might not be on my radar. And then I get to take that back to work and say, we have to be aware of sustainability reporting. And then what's that? What do you
Yeah.
mean, for example? Because they're on it because it's a big part of their function. But for us, it's a legislative change that happened, but it might not be
Yeah.
top of mind on top of everything else.
Yeah, those governance professionals have a whole other lens that they see the world through. It's quite fascinating. Okay, so you've got the Governance Institute. I know you've got your TEDx stuff. You've got ACC, Association of Corporate Counsel, and you do. I feel like there's more. I feel like you're doing like a Tasmania ambassadorship of some description. Like, how do you? And not saying that you would get rid of any of those communities or any of those kind of networks, but if someone feels a bit overwhelmed with maybe they've said yes to a few too many committees. What's kind of your advice there on is it a pros and cons list? What am I getting out of this? What am I giving to this? How would you approach that tactical, like getting out of a community or not even getting into one to start with?
Yeah. I mean, all of this stuff is always volunteer, right? So you put in what you can, and whatever you can't put in, just be honest with, I guess, the organization to say, hey, I think I've bitten off a little bit more than I can chew. So I probably need to scale back a little bit. And people are pretty reasonable with that because they understand, hey, you're only here on a voluntary basis. You're not being paid to be here. You get access to some of this stuff because you do, provide your time, but you might not get as much back potentially. So I think it depends on, what you're giving and what you're getting back. So there's a bit of that there. But I think having that transparent conversation to say, hey, I think I am a little overwhelmed right now. So I'm gonna have to miss a few meetings or miss this thing that I was going to do, but instead, I can come back a bit later. And most organizations are going to be pretty happy with that because they can see that you are committed and you are interested. But right now might be a very tricky time. So, but I think for an individual, if they're at the point of saying, "Oh, I've got so many things on," be tactical. What are you going to get the most value out of? Where are the connections that you need and you want to maintain? And who are the ones that you can like come back to later if you need to?
Mm.
So look at everything on the map and then decide what can I do now and what can I leave for later. I mean, I've done that recently. I've had to say I probably can't organize a 10x Hobart event in 2025 because I've published a book, having a new job, running a business on the side, and head of programs for a legal association, and doing this and doing too many things, right? So I'm not going to also give myself a 800-hour per year task.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's it's such a great way that you've set it out there to just be honest with the organization, tell them what you can do, what like I can't do this whole big thing, but maybe I could do this smaller piece or, reach out again in November or, and I'll see what I can do. And yeah, I think that, as you said, most people will be pretty understanding about that. In terms of the tactical of like what's going to be most important for me, I think this is the key where people join things or they say yes to webinars and they're more aspirational. Like, I would like to learn about this new quirky area of AI and the law. Or they think they want to be on a committee to write something to the Productivity Commission, but then reality hits. And so I don't know if you have any particular approaches that you take or that you did take. Is it just kind of scanning the horizon and seeing your capacity, or like a bit of Marie Kondo, like what sparks joy in terms of networking, or do you have a bit of a rule that you could pass on?
Well, it's definitely a little blend of all of it, right? So I think you need to enjoy what you're
Mm.
doing because if you're not enjoying it, maybe that's not the right activity for you, particularly because it's going to be in your spare time. So if you're doing something in your spare time, you want it to be worthwhile. But if you can see an impact from it, so maybe writing an advocacy submission is a good thing, and it'll be really good for you to get your name in front of these people, as well as being credited for you know writing a very compelling piece that will potentially change the way things are done in the future. Great, that's really positive. But if you're finding that it's just a time suck and it's like everyone's going around in circles, nothing's happening, and like you don't see the benefit to yourself, I think it's important to just say, I've got to leave it. I've got to leave this commitment for now and maybe come back at another time. I think that's okay.
Yeah, commit slowly and then get out fast if you can't. So, in terms of interests outside of the law and all of your various hobbies, I mean, you kind of mentioned the Governance Institute, which I think a lot of lawyers will see like is pretty well correlated. But is there any surprising ways that hobbies have made you a better lawyer of your vast list of extracurriculars?
I think writing a book was probably one of the best things I could have done for my legal career because I had to think of a way to do this big project in free time outside of work, but then also with law, communication is such an important thing. So being able to get all of the thoughts in my head, plan it out, write it clearly, position it for like a particular audience, and then structure it in a way that logistically made sense is such a great skill for a legal professional, because this is what we do in our day to day. We have to write compelling arguments, we write advice, we put this stuff together. But when you are forced to sit down and do it for, the whole international audience, it's quite different. So that task in itself was probably one of the most useful I could do for my legal career, because now anytime I, write an email, put advice together, I think, I need to, think of all these things that I did for this book project and compile it into like a practical, useful tool for my clientele.
Well, congratulations on the book. Very exciting. I
Thank you.
definitely agree with you that everyone should write a book, whether or not they plan on publishing it or not, because the actual act of going through and that structuring your ideas and how can I help other people with this thing that I kind of can do is, yeah, super powerful. So I think that there needs to be a whole other session on how to write a book, I think, because yeah, it's everyone's got a book in them, right? Maybe a couple.
Everyone's got a book in them. Like, I mean, look, we've got
Yep.
books. So if we've got books, everyone else should have books,
Yeah,
right?
if I can write a book, anyone can write a book. Come on. So
Uh,
most people would say, oh, I would love to write a book if I could find the time. So bust this myth, right? Because making the time to do the things, there's never any time, is there? So how do you make time to do all of the things?
you make time for important to you, right? Like I always say this, like I say this with my friends. So if I've got a friend who's like, I can't do that, I'm busy. I can't go here, I'm busy. I'm like, you guys don't want to be friends. That's fine. So
Yep.
maybe I'm just a bit sensitive to that. But I think if you want something to happen, you will make the time.
It's
And writing
definitely
a
a
book
good
is just like that.
reframing, right? If you say, "Oh, I'm
Mm.
too busy, I can't do that." It's just you don't want to do that. You don't want to make the time
Yeah,
for
you
that.
just
It's
don't want to
okay to
do
say you
it.
don't want to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just about how you create time for it. So, like with my book, did the planning stuff first, sat down and did that, planned out, knew every part of what was going to be in the book. That's like a big thing for the book writing space in the professional book world. But then I had to actually write this stuff. I had to carve out time in the mornings, in the evenings, on the weekends. I made sure that, those times were dedicated just to book stuff. Otherwise, it wasn't going to happen. And I mean, it took me ages, 2 years, so not that bad, in the scheme of things, to put it all together. But, the time was worth it. And there were some days where I couldn't get any words out. And I thought, okay, well, I've got time tomorrow. I'll do it then. And then I, made up for the lack of stuff the day before. So you just need to dedicate the time to do it. And it is that reframe of it's not I'm too busy, but it's how do I create time
Mm.
to make this happen?
Mm. I think you definitely have to just carve it out, don't you? Definitely have to carve it out. And 2 years is great. I mean, things take time, and then now you've got the book, which is amazing. Have you recorded the audiobook yet?
No, not
That's the
yet.
that's the second challenge for you, because then you have to reread it all again and you'll find all that. Well, when I read mine, I found all the mistakes. I was like putting post-it notes and I have to update this, I have to update that anyway. But yeah.
Oh,
No, you'll
stressful.
be great. You'll be great. You'll be great. Everyone loves an audiobook. Everyone loves that. Well, I love
I
audiobooks. I love
do.
audiobooks. They want to hear you. They want to
Mm.
take you on their commute, Theo. So you've got to get that audiobook version done.
They do. And when it's a book about communication and presentation skills, it would make sense to have it in an audiobook form.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
mm,
And so you kind of mentioned setting up the space. Is that kind of the ritual or routine that you go through for writing, and, or is it calendar blocking? I mean, because my calendar looks like it kind of freaks people out when they see it, because I like to have everything color coded. I like to have time blocked away for everything, because it just helps my brain to plan. What about you? Do you have any kind of rituals for carving out the time and finding time for these extracurriculars?
Yeah, I do a calendar block as well. So I block everything out and I make sure it's just in and I can see
Mm.
it and I know what's coming up and when. Because, for example, this evening I'm chairing a board meeting. Great. Well, that means I can't go to this quiz night that I was going to go to or whatever it might be. And through the day, it's okay. Well, I've got to meet this group at lunchtime, so that's awesome. So that's blocked out, and then before that, I can have this meeting with work, and after that, I can do the follow-up meeting for the other thing. So everything is in the calendar. It's all marked out, blocked. It's clear to me. I know what's happening when. I know what commitment it is, and I know what I have to do before it.
Yeah.
So just about being organized. We love
So
that.
do you have any blank space in your calendar? I ask as someone who like kind of panics when I have a blank space in my calendar. I know I'm supposed to keep some blank space, but I like to have everything accounted for. I don't know if that's good or bad. What are your thoughts on blank spaces in calendars?
I don't I don't mind blank space. It's like, oh, that's nice, but often I'll like put something in there to say keep
Yeah.
clear. So then it's not
Maybe that's what I
so
need
then
to
it's
do.
not
Yeah, relax. Yeah.
yeah, chill. Because sometimes I just want time to think or like draft or whatever it might be, doing the legal stuff. I don't want to get interrupted with a phone call or, someone to just pop by my desk. So I think being able to black out that space is really
Mm.
useful
And I
and just
think
dedicated for something.
for when I was in house and something that I do now, I always try to take as much control of your day as you can. It's tricky because there are so many meetings in the world of corporate. So I always try to block out the mornings, but yeah, it's tricky. You just have to try and find it. In terms of the practical side of setting up some of these side hobbies and side hustles, in terms of getting employers permission and kind of the boundaries, if lawyers wanted to write a book, consult, do speaking gigs, what kind of how would you suggest that they approach these with their current employer or a new employer, or do you have any practical tips on that side of things?
One tip I always say to people is respect the
Yeah.
paycheck, number one. So I love that little saying. I have to be open and honest. I think anytime I've ever had a job interview or anything, I always said, look, I have a consultancy on the side. It's a professional speaking, emceeing, coaching, online course thing. And you'll see me posting about it on LinkedIn. That's my public persona now. And that's not to say I don't value my other stuff. It's just this is how the world is engaging with me. And if I do engage in any of this stuff, it's in my own time and it's not going to conflict with anything that's happening within the business. So I'm not going to work for a competitor. I'm not going to work for a customer. And, we'll be really clear about that from like a conflict of interest perspective. And if I get asked to speak at a conference or an event, I'll, take annual leave to do that. I'll make sure that it's my time and not your time. So, like this year, I've had some really interesting and fun speaking events. They've either been in my lunch break or like I emceed a breakfast for like the Salvation Army early in the year. I was the MC for a federal government conference over in Canberra like a few weeks back, and I blocked out, a few days of annual leave to take to fly up and fly back. And, I just explained, look, blocking out this time using my leave. So it's all just, me time, and then being really clear that, I'm not working and it's not going to be a conflict for anything that we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in terms of networking and side hustles, like just being upfront about it is the way to go. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's get to the lightning round. Are you ready for lightning round questions?
I, oh my God, I'm
Oh my
ready. Let's
gosh.
go.
Okay. Networking online or in person?
In
Yeah,
person.
100%. A
Oh,
panel, keynote, or roundtable?
keynote.
Yeah,
So much more
yeah.
fun.
Oh, keynotes are great. Biggest tip for writing a book for anyone who wants to write a book?
Plan everything out, every part of every chapter and every chapter, all just plan it and then sit and write.
Plan and write. We love that. One
Mm.
networking mistake that lawyers make too often.
Going in too hard, too
Oh,
fast.
okay. We might have to pause the lightning round. Please explain.
I think some people can be really intense. I think it's pretty good just to get in, have a light convo to start with and then introduce yourself. Some people just go in immediately and try and do the hard sell. I've seen that often. It's not so much lawyers, but I've seen a lot of, salespeople try and get in and sell their product immediately. And I think, oh, this is not a great way to approach this little group of people who are just here to have a good time.
Yeah.
So just ease into it.
Add a bit of value. Have a bit of chat first, right? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Finish this sentence. Most people are scared of public speaking because
They fear losing control and lack of confidence.
Ooh, yeah, I think lawyers definitely a bit scared to lose control, 100%. And one question that we love to ask everyone who comes onto the Legal Light Bulbs podcast is a legal light bulb moment that you might have had recently or in your career that kind of like was a bit of a game changer for you that might inspire others.
Oh, a legal light bulb moment. Just the importance of having people that you can call on. I think some part of, I guess, what we were talking about today, but I've come across things that I have no idea about, but I know that there are people that I know who've done heaps of this stuff. So being able to pick up the phone and say, please help me. I'm so sorry for being annoying, but I know you will know the answer and I need help. People are always going to answer and say, sure, let's have a chat.
Amazing. So, and I mean, that's a testament to the amazing network that you've built around you. But wonderful. What a good legal light bulb to end on. Theo, thank you so much. Is there anything where do you want people to find you? At your website or on LinkedIn? Or, I mean, you're everywhere, so they can't miss you, but.
Can't miss me, but yeah, we can start with the website, www.theocap.com.au. You can find me on LinkedIn or even Instagram at TheoCap88.
Well, we'll have all of the links. All of the links will be in the show notes. Theo, thank you so much for coming along and talking about networking and side hustles and all of the good things.
Thanks so much. Been fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yay. Thank you so much. That's it for this episode of Legal Light Bulbs. You'll find all the good stuff in the show notes, including links, resources, and guest details. If something sparked an idea for you, please share the episode with a colleague or connect with me, Verity White, on LinkedIn and let me know what resonated. It really helps me shape the show for other legal legends like you. Legal Light Bulbs is brought to you by Checklist Legal, a B Corp certified commercial law firm helping small legal teams in big brands modernize and transform the legal function to do business better. If you're thinking about kicking off your own transformation project, book in a chat today and let's make sure you kick it off on the right track. Until next time, happy contracting.